Hey guys, just wanted to give you a quick tour of this circuit board and our motherboard that we're using for this particular setup. We've got really maybe four-ish major components to be aware of in the case of this particular board. First, our CPU. So we talked about it earlier. We've got the Threadripper 7965WX in here. And the installation for it is pretty straightforward. I apologize for not capturing that on camera, but I'm going to give you a sense of it right now. So with each Threadripper, you're going to get one of these handy-dandy Torx screwdrivers. This guy is used to make sure that it's impossible for you to over-tighten anything when installing the Threadripper. You've got 3 bolts here, and they're labeled 3, 2, and 1, and it's very, very straightforward. For loosening it, you start with 3, then 2 to 1. Kind of makes sense, like you're counting down. And for tightening it back up again, you're just going to use 1, and then 2, and then 3. And again, when you're tightening, this guy's going to give out on you when you hit the correct torque spec. So next after that, we've got our DIMM trace and our system RAM. So we talked about that a bit earlier, pretty straightforward. All of these come with individual clips on the sides. See if I can get that from another angle so you can see it. And so this back here, all have these little plastic tab clips. So you're going to make sure that all of those are pushed back when you're installing the RAM. And your best indication when you slot something into place is you're going to hear a click, and you're going to see that little tab lock into place. One other thing worth noting, kind of silly but not silly, for DDR5, you're going to note that one side of the stick is a little bit shorter than the other side, and there's this gap in the stick itself. Now, what this means is essentially it's impossible to be able to put the stick in the wrong way. So if you're trying to put the stick down and you're noticing that it's not lining up, that little crossbar isn't lining up with the gap on the stick, all that means is flip it around, pop it in place in the other direction, and you'll be just fine. A couple other items. This guy right here, looks like this kind of cool black T-bar type thing. It's got the Pro Series logo here. You've got a fan. So this is the heat exchanger for your M2 connectors. Now, when you think to yourself, hey Mike, what's an M2 connector? That's a good question. That's where you slot things like your SSD, system memory, little peripheral connections like that. If you take the screws out of this and pop it up, there's going to be a bunch of little connectors under here that you can just slide individual SSDs into. Beyond that, you're going to see adhesive pads. These kind of replace the screws in traditional systems. So you just peel back the adhesive on the pad, you slot in the M2 connector. There'll be an adhesive pad on the other side of the heat exchanger as well, the underbelly of this guy. You peel that back, and by the time you're all said and done, and you screw this guy back into place, all of your M2s should be very, very thoroughly secured. Last but not least is your individual PCIe connectors here and slots. This is where our GPUs are going to go. Now, I've done some preliminary testing, but we'll see how it feels inside the physical case. But it at least feels so far like we should be able to use potentially the lowermost PCI and the uppermost PCI connector on our GPUs, which is just going to give us the maximum amount of space between them. As it's kind of obvious and clear, we've got like a 600 watt GPU going into a 600 watt GPU thermally. It's rejecting the heat from one down here up into the other. So the other one's going to take some of that hot air that's exhausting from the one as its intake. that could be a thermal problem for a lot of different reasons. It can cause one to operate too hot, and so then it starts throttling its own power, so it can reduce thermals. We want to reduce that as much as possible. So we're going to have some big old fans inside this case. We're going to do everything we can to get as much airflow going in there as possible, but also we're going to try to maximize the amount of space that we have between these two GPUs. More of a gap gives us more of an opportunity for some of that hot exfiltration air to find another path other than just going straight into the GPU above it. So with that, that's a brief tour of this board. You can see over here, we're going to be installing it shortly, but you can see what our external connections look like. This is what you would see on like the outside of your PC chassis. These are all of our individual connections to the board, etc. And there's not much left to do at this stage other than get this guy slotted up. So that's what we're going to do next. See you soon.